Good evening. Americans are voting tonight, rearranging the political landscape as they pick a Congress, 34 senators, and 36 governors.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from the NBC News election headquarters in New York.
Good evening. At a time when the United States appears to be headed into a recession, if it's not already there, when a huge American military force is poised, ready for war in the desert, and when many Americans are losing confidence in their system, it appears this election will be a mixed message about the future. In the House of Representatives, Democrats hold a big majority, and the thinking is they'll pick up about 10 seats tonight. In the Senate, with races in 34 states, Democrats will likely end up close to their current majority of 55-45, but there are races worth watching. In Oregon, 24-year incumbent Mark Hatfield, Republican, facing a tough challenge from businessman Harry Lonsdale. Abortion and the environment are among the issues. In North Carolina, conservative Republican Jesse Helms in the fight of his political life against liberal Democrat Harvey Gantt. The governor's races, 36 contests around the country. Democrats could add to their current majority, but the action is in 4 big states. California, Senator Pete Wilson, San Francisco's former Mayor Dianne Feinstein in a tight race to run the nation's most populous state. In Florida, former Senator Lawton Childs is riding an anti-incumbent tide against Bob Martinez. In Texas, outsider Clayton Williams and veteran politician Ann Richards go down to the wire. And in Massachusetts, Michael Dukakis is out, and Maverick John Silber battles William Weld to replace him. NBC's John Cochran at the White House tonight, Andrea Mitchell in North Carolina. They've been adding up the consequences for President Bush and for Congress. John, the president was on the campaign trail in Texas until this morning even.
He was, Tom, but he's back at the White House now to follow with the results. And even before those results are known, his aides are saying this election is not a referendum about George Bush.
At his polling place in Houston, the president refused to make any last-minute predictions because that, he said, is a good way to go to jail. Politicking while voting is illegal. Returning to the White House, Bush was upbeat about something, maybe the election, maybe just the weather. But it won't be the day Bush hoped for a couple of months ago. Riding high in the polls, Bush then expected to boost his party's chances in the fall campaign and his own chances in '92. Bush thought voters had forgiven him for backtracking on taxes. But by the time Congress passed the budget package, the public was not in a forgiving mood.
He didn't show direction, and he didn't show decisiveness in the budget debate. He's in danger now of committing the third D, not delivering for the Republican Party.
When the president tried to help Republicans, some didn't want his help. Others said he was a great guy, but...
You know, certainly the president knows, I don't agree with him all the time.
Bush was furious when campaign directors advised candidates they need not agree with the president.
He said that he wasn't happy to have Republicans attacking Republicans.
But Republicans running for governor welcomed Bush in California, Florida, and Texas, key states in Bush's own re-election strategy. Bush diverted some attention from the budget fiasco with hard-hitting attacks on Saddam Hussein. But some of Bush's aides wanted hard-hitting attacks on the Democrats, a Harry Truman-style give 'em hell campaign. Bush went part way. He gave them heck.
And if America wants to change, I think we need a Republican Congress, and I wish we could get it now, tomorrow, and then watch what we can do.
But the president knows he will not get a Republican Congress, and that will make his life harder over the next 2 years. But Republican victories in the big governor's races would certainly ease the pain for him a lot. Tom?
Thank you, John. We'll see you later tonight. As for Congress, Republicans, of course, hope the Democrats won't add too much to their sizable majorities in the House and Senate. NBC's Andrea Mitchell is in North Carolina tonight, covering the race between Jesse Helms and Harvey Gantt, who's trying to become the first Southern black senator since Reconstruction. Andrea, what's going on in Congress?
Well, Tom, Democrats didn't so much have a strategy as stumbled into one. George Bush handed them the issue of tax fairness on a silver platter. Democrats have been running with it ever since.
In Iowa, Republican challenger Tom Tauke was hurt by being tagged as the rich man's candidate.
I want to make the rich pay their fair share and make sure we invest in highways, in education, and in health care. That's the difference in this race.
Fighting back, Tauki tried to portray Harkin as a tax and spend Democrat.
I suggest to you that it's time to sweep out the tax and spend crowd, including Senator Harkin.
But the tax and spend label didn't stick to Democrats this year, not after Bush fought against higher taxes on millionaires at the budget summit.
To be fighting tooth and nail to give tax money and tax giveaways to millionaires, in those terms, we'll have an election any day. We look forward to it.
Bush's tax flip-flops hurt Republican Lynn Martin's chances of overtaking Illinois Senator Paul Simon, helped give Oregon Republican Mark Hatfield the scare of his political life, were a big factor in making Minnesota Republican Rudy Boschwitz scramble to the finish line, and temporarily rescued Democrats from years of disarray.
Close Democratic races became big leads for the Democrats. Big leads for the Republicans became narrow races. It made a difference this year.
While the tax fairness issue seems to have worked in this midterm election, retaking the White House will demand more. Democrats still lack a message and a candidate to persuade people that they can govern. Possible candidates like Nunn of Georgia and Bradley of New Jersey have yet to develop a national message. Mario Cuomo's future depends on how he handles enormous economic problems in New York. And Majority Leader Dick Gephardt found in 1988 that fairness was a thin reed on which to build a presidential campaign. Although Democrats now think that George Bush may be vulnerable in 1992, especially if the economy continues to weaken, they still find that the president is more popular than any of his likely Democratic challengers. Tom?
Thank you, Andrea, and we'll be seeing you later tonight as well. Two men with battle stars and battle scars in this political war are with us tonight in Washington. Ron Brown, who's the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and Ed Rollins, who runs the congressional re-election campaign for Republicans. Mr. Brown, let's begin with you. If, as likely, this tonight is settled state by state, personality by personality, won't that say to you that there really is no distinct trend or movement toward the Democratic Party in this country?
I don't think so. I think it really is a referendum on George Bush. I'm very upbeat and optimistic. I think it's going to be a great night for the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates, and a great night for America. I really think we've basically set a new table. It's a kitchen table that working Americans are going to be pleased to sit at, rather than the kind of casino table that economic policies of Ronald Reagan and George Bush have brought us into economic decline and into a recession.
Mr. Rollins, what about George Bush? Has the door been open to successfully challenge him in 1992 as a result of his precipitous drop in the polls here recently?
Well, first of all, his poll numbers are still higher than any modern president going into a midterm. Ronald Reagan was behind all 1983, went on to win 49 states in 1984. I think George Bush has bounced back, and I think will be a very, very strong leader the last 2 years, and obviously be a very strong candidate for re-election.
Does that mean that if you were advising your Republican candidates tonight, you would change your mind and say, well, it's okay to campaign with the president now, because just a few days ago you were saying stay away from him?
I never said stay away from the president. I said stay away from the budget proposals of the president, which obviously most candidates did, and most Democrats ran from too. So it was more the policy than it was the president himself.
Mr. Brown, is it possible to just run against economic policy without a positive message, or, for that matter, identifiable stars of your own? Because even in your own party, there are those insiders who will say the Democrats still don't have anybody to put forth.
Well, that's not true at all. I've said all along we ought to be focusing on the elections today and worry about 92 after today. There are going to be a lot of very capable, very attractive Democratic candidates for president, probably more than I'd like to see as party chairman. I think George Bush is in trouble. It's been made clear that he's very vulnerable, and it's because during this whole discussion over the last couple of weeks, it's been clear that he and his party favor the wealthiest Americans, and I think the Democratic message is clear, and that is that we're the party of everyday, average, working men and women and working families, seniors, young families trying to make ends meet. That's the difference between the two parties.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Rollins, thank you very much. We'll be seeing you later tonight here on NBC, of course, as we continue with Campaign 90. And when NBC Nightly News continues, the murder of Mayor Kahana. And on What Works tonight, teaching Harlem teenagers about the law from the right side, preparing them for legal careers.
This is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. This is Tire Tips by Bridgestone. One is filled with valuable writing and wisdom that can help you throughout your entire life. The other is a play. One is free, the other isn't. One comes complete with a free tire inspection and rotation at your participating Bridgestone retailer. The other comes complete with a bookmark. But while you can read Hamlet whenever you want, Tire Tips is only available for a limited time.
Do you get colds?
About 4 a year.
Here's 2 cold medicines. Choose one.
I'd probably go with the Sudafed.
Which one of these would you choose? This relieves these 3 symptoms, this 9.
Number 9.
Why?
When I have a cold, I get a pain that travels across the front of my face where it's like the head's in a vice because of the congestion.
Here's what you chose.
Sudafed does 3 symptoms and Tristan will cover 9. My choice is maximum strength Tristan.
Tristan relieves 9 tough cold symptoms.
I'm going to try it.
From New York City to Jerusalem, vows of revenge tonight for the assassination of Rabbi Meir Kahane. The Jewish extremist was gunned down Monday night. The suspect, a New York City employee who was born in Egypt. A previously unknown Arab group has claimed responsibility. NBC's Martin Fletcher begins our report with Kahane's funeral in New York.
This is where Rabbi Meir Kahane's political career began, in the streets of Brooklyn, defending Jews against attacks by anti-Semites. It ended in Manhattan, Kahane slain by an assassin. But in between, his violent language and deeds helped radicalize Israeli politics.
I want to throw all the Arabs out of Israel. Out.
Let the media get away from here, because the media never came when Rav Kahane wanted him. Now get the hell out of here.
At his headquarters in Jerusalem this morning, fury at the press for ignoring Kahane when he lived, caring only when he died. And in Israel's parliament, which has banned him for being a racist, a minute's silence. For years, Kahane's simple racist solution to Israel's complex problems earned him hatred. But today, his views are commonly heard here, though more politely.
More and more Israelis may conclude that the only solution for this conflict, the only way to challenge Arab terrorism is to accept Kahane's idea.
When Kahane was banned from politics here, another party adopted his views and won 2 seats in parliament. All opinion polls show about a third of Israelis sympathize with throwing the Arabs out, even if they wouldn't vote for it. 2 Arabs were killed today by lone gunmen on the West Bank. Kahane supporters warn this is the beginning of revenge.
I hope that tens more will die and will suffer as a result of the action that they took.
The police are preparing to stop any revenge attacks after Kahane's funeral in Israel tomorrow. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
What is being called the hostage bazaar was in full swing today in Iraq. It goes something like this. A well-known foreign leader has an audience with Saddam Hussein. Then comes the order to release more hostages. Today, the number was 108, most of them Japanese, the rest European and Australian. NBC's Tom Aspel is in Baghdad for NBC.
Former Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone met Saddam Hussein today for the second time since the weekend. He was given assurances that more than 70 of his countrymen being held hostage here will be allowed to leave with him tomorrow. More than 20 of them were brought to a Baghdad hotel this afternoon from strategic sites outside the capital, where they had been held to discourage attacks from the United States and its allies.
Mr. Chancellor, you're much welcome.
Hard on Nakasone's heels is former West German Chancellor Willy Brandt, another respected elder statesman visiting Baghdad to seek the release of German nationals. The Iraqis are delighted to receive these visitors, knowing their side of the Gulf crisis will get a hearing. Saddam Hussein's regime has been working hard to project an image of reasonableness over the hostage issue, releasing groups on a regular basis while talking of the need to find a peaceful solution to the Gulf crisis. But Western leaders are concerned that the whole issue is being used to drive a wedge between America and its allies.
If people are going to go from each country in turn, then Saddam Hussein will play one country off against another.
There are nearly 4,000 foreign hostages in Iraq, including about 700 Americans. At this rate, releasing them all could take a long time. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Baghdad.
I'll be back in a moment after this word from the desert.
Mary Rich, I'm from Napa, California. I'd like to say hello to my mom and my dad and my in-laws, Bob and Sandy, and I miss you guys.
This is how the roomy new Cutlass Supreme SL looks after traveling 300 highway miles on just 10 gallons of gas. And this is how Honda Accord looks after the same challenge. Well, if it hadn't run out of gas 20 miles back, you'd see that it's smaller and it's blue. And next trip, Dad, it's yours. Who says you can't get great gas mileage in a roomy, comfortable car? Cutlass Supreme is one car that does it all and does it right.
This is the new generation of old.
And I've always loved grape nut cereal. I tried it once or twice.
I said you gotta try it with breakfast for at least a week. Get to know it. That good nutty taste. And well, it's packed with complex carbohydrates. It's a natural energy source. It'll help keep you going.
So I did it. And I do feel great. Now I love it more than she does.
No way.
Breakfast with Post Grape Nuts helps keep you going strong all morning long.
You gotta try it for a week yourself.
It's a great price for Valvoline.
Yeah.
You know anything about motor oil?
Sure. What do you want to know?
What's the difference between 10W40 and 10W30? Guess I'll just get the 10W30.
Sometimes minor mouth pain can be major trouble. Maximum Strength Anbesol gives maximum strength relief on contact. So before you can say Tchaikovsky, the pain's gone. Maximum Strength Anbesol. It's major relief.
Tonight on What Works, we go to Harlem in New York City, where the challenge is to get young people to think of the legal system, the law, as a friend, not an enemy. One man had an idea. You can't respect the law if you don't understand it.
All right.
Start the testimony.
Nothing but the truth.
And having considered the evidence.
To most young people in Harlem and other inner cities, the law means cops and court.
I have concluded that the defendant is found not guilty.
But these junior high students are part of a radical experiment to get more minorities into the legal profession.
Do I have to remind you that there's a penalty for perjury?
No. Mock trials before a real judge.
Would you repeat the question, please?
With this legal head start, these 14 and 15-year-olds can imagine solving conflicts instead of creating them. James O'Neill founded Legal Outreach. It's been his passion since he graduated from Harvard Law School.
I think people really are surprised to find that these young people are capable, that they have an intense desire to learn and to do.
But it's the right to privacy. Even you as youngsters do.
O'Neill convinced a Harlem school district to offer a course that he created on the law and social problems.
And they provided us with the support as we've built the program.
Top students like Natalie Granado qualify for more intensive training that includes summer internships.
Before I entered the program, I was very, very shy.
Now, 15-year-old Natalie is side by side with real attorneys working on real cases.
I mean, she probably is almost ready for law school. But still has to go through the hurdle of high school and college.
Yes, Your Honor, we're going to have a disposition here.
Is it your wish to plead guilty to this violation?
Your Honor, people's application, therefore, is to reduce...
Everybody calls me a nerd at school, but I don't take it as something bad. I take it as a compliment, and I say thank you, and I smile.
This path to success is not easy. Ask Sandy Santana. Saturday mornings, year-round, he's off to tutoring, while other kids are out having fun.
Dogs would be the subject, and ran would be the verb.
Which is telling us what?
Okay, that's a subject, verb.
O'Neill says this extra academic work must begin in junior high. It's the only way these kids can overcome the shortcomings of their schools and environment.
To a large extent, mediocrity is tolerated, and there need to be organizations and institutions that are pushing kids. Every time I find a word that's misspelled, it's going to cost you a dime.
There are also fines for arriving late or for using street talk.
When it hurts your pocketbook just a little bit, it makes you a bit more conscientious about the language that you're using.
What about those people who would worry that you're compromising their cultural identification?
Well, we don't. Really, what we're trying to teach these young people is to be sort of bicultural or biworldly.
O'Neill got Sandy Santana his second internship this summer in a prestigious Manhattan law firm.
I almost lost that motion that I argued, didn't I? It was touch and go for a while.
You were very close.
I know.
Sandy, what has surprised you most of all?
Well, perhaps is that an attorney has the power to shape a person's life, and you're a part of that. That's what really motivates me.
Sandy says he hopes one day to help Harlem residents burdened with legal difficulties and limited finances.
Giving back to your community, that's important to me. Not forget where I come from.
Tomorrow on Vital Signs, part 2 of our series on Alzheimer's disease, the long search for a treatment.
Well, you're doing pretty good.
The evolution of the minivan is now complete.
Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years, but she'll discover it tomorrow after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
How about dessert from Presto Salad Shooter?
Shoot some slices, salad shooter.
Point and shoot right into dessert or fruit salad.
Shoot some shreds, salad shooter.
For chocolatey, nutty dessert toppings.
Shoot it fast, shoot it neat, shoot it pretty. Salad shooter.
Presto Salad Shooter Slicer Shredder. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe, small enough to store anywhere. Great salads and much, much more.
Salad shooter.
Original, cordless rechargeable, and now professional salad shooter.
I wish I didn't have to take a laxative. Philip's right, but it's going to taste chalky. I still don't like the flavor. Well, alright. Hey, that didn't taste like Philip's. Sold.
A victory for truth in advertising. Volvo of North America has withdrawn a television commercial demonstrating the strength of its car after admitting that it was, well, less than honest. NBC's Robert Hager tonight.
It's designed for safety. And in this recent TV commercial, the company showed what appeared to be a real car-crushing exhibition in Austin, Texas, in which a monster pickup demolished everything except a Volvo.
Whoa, we got one car still standing out there. That car refuses to go down.
Apparently, not everyone appreciates the strength of a Volvo.
Now, Volvo has had to admit that commercial was faked. This after the Texas Attorney General's office revealed that it had sent undercover agents to the commercial filming and took its own photographs of what it said really happened. The Attorney General's photos show that the first time the truck ran over the cars, it flattened them all. Even the Volvo was, as one official put it, squished. Next, the photos show the commercial team preparing more cars, and this time using a torch to weaken the frames of those that weren't Volvos. But the Volvo was reinforced with big steel beams. Only then was the commercial able to show the Volvo not being squished. As for that close-up of the tire, the Attorney General's photo shows that it had really been taken off the truck and pushed across the top of the Volvo by hand. An embarrassed Volvo Vice President, William Hoover.
And the only way I think it could have gotten through is that somewhere along the way, someone was not telling the truth in terms of what was done to the cars.
In newspaper ads Volvo agreed to run today, the company says the commercial production team was actually trying to dramatically reenact something that really did happen at an earlier event. But Volvo's ordered the ads off the air and admits the incident's been damaging. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
On Wall Street today, Persian Gulf war jitters pushed stock prices lower in light trading.
There are more pain relievers than ever. But last year, more people switched to Tylenol gel caps than any other. Extra strength Tylenol gel caps. Concentrated, powerful, easy to swallow. Join the switch to Tylenol gel caps.
If one antacid was recommended most by doctors, if it was recommended most by pharmacists, and if it was trusted by hospitals as well, It could only be Mylanta, the antacid doctors recommend most.
Two arch-rival breakfast cereals.
Total. Kellogg's Just Right.
Both high-nutrition cereals. So what might make one better than the other?
Just Right has vitamin B1.
We have vitamin B1.
Just Right has vitamin B2.
B2.
Just Right has iron.
Oh, we have iron.
Just Right has vitamin E.
Oh, plenty B.
Just Right has vitamin B6.
B6 here.
Just Right has almonds. Just Right has sweet dates, plump raisins, plus 4 different tasty grains. Just Right has 2 out of 3 people preferring our taste, which means Just Right is just better.
Kellogg's Just Right. It's the taste that makes it just better.
For 75 years, the workers' compensation system has helped protect America's workers. But today, rising medical and claims costs and time-consuming litigation are threatening the effectiveness of the system in many states. Employers feel it, workers feel it, their families. It's as if now, when a worker has an accident, everybody gets hurt. Help strengthen workers' compensation. Business and labor, let's do it together.
The product, the proving grounds, the results. STP gas treatment is the edge.
Time now for commentary on this election day. John Chancellor, who will be in this place all evening long, taking a look at what's going on around the country.
Tom? Well, here's the story of the 1990 election. There is no story. What we're able to see at this hour as we look at our polls is a perfectly normal set of elections around the country. There are some colorful characters running, and when these colorful characters win or lose later tonight, there'll be plenty of drama. The year has produced perhaps more than the normal number of cliffhangers. But as far as we can tell now, there's been no significant swing toward any major party or away from one. And in a country clearly in a mood to throw the rascals out, it looks as though the number of thrown out rascals is going to be about normal. And that is interesting. These are not normal times. The President of the United States dropped 20 points in the poll this fall. The economy is in trouble. Our poll shows that people are very worried about it. Jobs have been disappearing at the rate of 15,000 a week. There are more than 200,000 Americans poised for war in the Persian Gulf. Extraordinary events. But we're having a normal election. And one reason for that, it seems to me, is the power of incumbency. The incumbents had so much campaign money that their challengers didn't have a chance. It was very hard to send them a message. What we're seeing in our body politic, Tom, it seems to me, is a hardening of the arteries.
But isn't there a possibility, John, that we're just getting up ahead of steam in this business of throwing the rascals out, and 2 years from now it could really reach some kind of a climax?
Yes, except that the challengers have much less money than the rascals, one is tempted to say, that it's very hard to find the challengers in a lot of these races.
And if you're going to get reform, you have to call on the rascals to do it, and the chances of them doing that are not very likely. Well, we'll be here all night long taking a look not just at the results, the winners and the losers, but the trends as well. That is Nightly News for now. John and I and the entire NBC News election team will have updates throughout the evening on this channel, and of course we'll have a complete program at 10 tonight Eastern Time, once again at 11:30. So stay tuned, please.
Coming up next tonight on The Scene at 6, extensive coverage of Decision 90, including live reports from both the Democratic and Republican headquarters, plus a rundown of key state races. Also tonight, you'll meet a 94-year-old Nashville woman who has an astonishing voting record. Plus, in our ID4 series, Desert Guard will take you to Saudi Arabia, where some Tennessee guardsmen are less than thrilled with their mission.
These stories and more news coming up next on The Scene at 6.
When you get a cold or an allergy,
you need some herbal tea.
You also get a lot of advice.
What you want to do is feed a cold.
A lot of advice.
Hey, Judy, they call me in the morning.
But the best advice is what doctors have said millions of times. Take Dimetap. Dimetap in non-prescription formulas brings proven relief. So take the advice of doctors and pharmacists.
The tea work. Huh?
And take Dimetap, the best advice you can take.
Before we updated our heating and cooling system, we checked every option.